I hope you get a lot out of this.
I say that all the time. This is a good one, but you guys know this because you listen to all of them.
You have to put stuff in your head that makes sense, and that something just might change your life and actually make a damn difference in my life.
You're going to want to pay attention to this one.
Hey everybody, David Nago. You're going to love this episode. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. In other words, if we're progressively moving and going after a worthy ideal and realizing that every day, we're a successful person. Because there is no destination. Once you get there, the journey's over. The challenge is over. Unless you start another one, you're back to being who you were before. Shame is the real enemy of success. Shame is the enemy of individuality. Shame is the enemy of expressing yourself as the beautiful person that you are, and in every area of your life, whether that is physically or sexually or in your thought or in your emotion or artistically or in your creativity. When shame gets in there, it stifles that side of yourself, and you're not able to give that godlike expression to the world. So we have to understand who the enemy is. The enemy is shame. Know your enemy. Know that the enemy is shame. And the idea, in order to change it, is to understand this one thing. Number one, it's not us. It's somebody else's voice that got in our head. What is the real problem? The real problem is that we're insecure and we think that we need validation, love, commitment, appreciation, approval, acceptance by other people in order for us to be well. And while all of those other things are nice, it's not required for us to be well, but it was at one time. We need to learn to separate that out in our mind. You're not a 6-month-old infant that is going to die if mom's not around. You're not the vulnerable kid on the playground that is going to not know what to do with themselves if the other kids don't accept you for volleyball or whatever. You're an adult, and you have to be willing to stand on your own 2 feet and heal that side of yourself. And what is the way we do that? It's through acceptance. It's through acceptance of who we really are as a person. You should study who you are. You should have the realization of who you are and accept yourself. And every time you feel shame, realize somebody else gave that to you. That's not who you are. Just silently in your mind, give it back to them. And you go on doing what the thing that you're doing, because you are a great, amazing human being. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what your story is, you're absolutely amazing. And you don't deserve to have shame in your life. But at this point, you're the only one that can get rid of it. Nobody else can make it go away, because somehow or another it got in you. Your job is to get it out of you.
You started off the episode beautifully with a quote by Earl Nightingale. His quote is basically this: success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Could you break that down for us and just kind of tell us how that hit you the first time you heard it?
The first time I heard it, it was like, it was almost one of those awe-inspiring moments, because at the time that I heard it, I was being taught that success is not a destination, that we really need to give up destination thinking in our mind if we really want to have massive success in our life. The idea that anybody would think that success is a destination is actually coming from fear. It's coming from insecurity. If I could just get there, I'll be okay. If I could just have this much money, everything will be fine. If I could just get the woman, or if I could just get the guy, or if we could just have the kids, if we could just get the house. It's always about, if I get something, then everything's going to be okay. And while it might sound, it might sound logical to some people, you have to understand what is behind the getting of the thing. You're basically saying that my life's not happy, I'm not successful because I'm missing this thing. And Earl came from a completely different perspective. His idea was, we're already successful. The question is, are we using it or not? And if we're using it, we're progressively moving towards some higher ideal for ourselves. And if we're doing that, we're actually successful. Life is about living, being enriched by and fulfilled by the journey. Just is it happy or not really is up to us. That is entirely up to us as human beings, whether we live a happy life or we don't. We have the choice to be happy.
You've said multiple times, whether it's at your seminars or in your programs or even on this podcast, about how, the journey is continual. You're always working towards something. If you're not growing, you're dying. So I think that just by listening to that one quote, I could see how that would hit you right between the eyes. And I know a lot of our loyal listeners out there, they realize that success is not a destination. You're not ever going to fully get there. Yes, you could be successful, but like you just said in that story you shared about Zeppelin, if you get to a point where you think the only where to go from there is down, well, guess what? You're going to go down. But the truth is, they could have continued putting out there that, no, we're only getting started.
My guest today is Jason Redman. Jason, how you doing?
David, honored to be on. I'm good, man.
And I'm really honored to talk to you. You have no idea. I've been waiting for this. Your story is absolutely amazing. Talk about in your book about getting off the X.
Yes.
Right? Getting off the X. Could you explain that to everybody, what that means?
Yeah. So I survived a pretty vicious Al-Qaeda enemy ambush, my team and I. We estimate anywhere from 10 to 12 AK-47 shooters and 2 PKM machine gun shooters had my 6-man team pinned down. I was hit 8 times in that fight. My medic was hit, took a round directly below the knee that almost severed his leg off. One of our other guys was hit 3 times. And just a vicious, vicious firefight. When you're in an ambush, weak point of attack, the X, whether it's a IED ambush, whether it's a sniper attack, whether it's a, machine gun ambush like we found ourselves in. And my entire military career, I had worked to try and put the enemy on the X. And fortunately, though, we also train that what happens if you get on the X. And the secret to success is you have to get off the X as quickly as possible. The longer you sit on the X in any kind of ambush, the harder it is to get out of it. And my team did an amazing job. My team, the Air Force AC-130 gunship, and a lot of the other assets, all helped us get off the X. But it was definitely my team leader and my team's actions that got us off the immediate X and driving forward. Fast forward about 8 years. Over that period of time, I'd retired from the military. I had launched my own nonprofit and was working with wounded warriors, a lot who had been through some pretty major trauma. And I started working with businesses and individuals who also had suffered adversity or crisis or trauma or whatever they'd been through. And one day I just had this epiphany and I was like, holy smokes, man. People react the same way. Businesses and people react the same way when they have a major trauma or life ambush, as I call it, as people do in a gunfight. Our reactions are almost the same. And the other thing that I realized is the human body doesn't distinguish. Your brain does not go, oh, I'm in a gunfight, I've got to ramp up our fight or I've got to crank things up to the I'm in a gunfight, fight or flight scenario.
Okay.
The human body and the brain only goes, you're in a crisis. And it kicks in the adrenaline and all the different things that occur when we're in specifically a life or death situation. So many people get stuck on the X. And I was at that point that I realized, man, all the things that I got taught in my SEAL career and the things that enabled me to be successful, they apply to anyone. And develop this REACT methodology, which is a system to get off the X and to teach people that when you sustain a life ambush or when you sustain a major crisis, if you apply these things, you will get off the X faster.